everything you need to know. Today we are chatting lentils. We're chatting all the different kinds and colors of lentils, and only lentils as part of the bean family, because we know that lentils are slightly different from beans. So you will get beans another day. So lentils are actually edible seeds, and they are one of the world's oldest health foods. They first started growing them about 8,000 BC, and then they moved their way across the world. Greeks often considered the beans poor man food, but the Egyptians thought of them as royalty. The lentils came to the Americas in about the 16th century, and during World War II, they became very well known as a great way to get nutrition with little cost, and they were dry, so you didn't have to keep them in any sort of storage except for in a bag or a can. Nowadays, they're common and staples in places like Turkey and Syria, in the Jordan, and Morocco, Tunisia, and nowadays in Canada as well. So we know of them as like a flattened circle. That's what they look like. And they're quite hard. They're a gluten-free option, so that means that there's no wheat in them. So when we're cooking for large numbers of people, it's a great food to have in your dish because lots of people can have them. They are a vegetarian option because they're not a meat protein, but they're just as equally as nutritious to meat. So what is in a lentil? What do we know? Well, of course, we know that there's a lot of fiber. We're always talking about fiber here and the benefits of fiber. Definitely a lot. In about a half of a cup of cooked, we have 9 grams of fiber. And when our goal is 25 grams in a day, 9 grams is really high. It's fantastic. It's about a third of what we need. And as far as carbohydrates go, the energy that supplies our muscles and our brain, they're a good amount. They're about 1.5 servings for a half of a cup of carbohydrates, which means in a half a cup, you're getting a third of the protein or of the fiber you need in the day, plus you're getting 1.5 servings of carbohydrate in your meal in just that half a cup, and you're getting 12 grams of protein. So protein, fiber, and carbohydrates all in a half a cup cooked of these lovely protein options. So some of the vitamins that are in lentils include the electrolytes, calcium, magnesium, potassium, and phosphorus. But then we have the B vitamins that are also found in grains. And then we have zinc, iron. These are a high iron food. Amazing. And of course, folate, which is really good for women. So when compared to other kinds of beans, lentils are actually number 2 in the amount of protein that they have, only to the infamous soybean, because soybeans are very, very high in protein. So when you combine lentils with a whole grain, meaning a grain that has the fiber and then the natural vitamins and minerals with it, then you have a complete protein, which means that it is equal to the quality of protein of meat, which is fantastic. You have less of the fat or no fat in this as compared to the meat, and you have more fiber. Meat doesn't have any fiber. So it's a very big benefit when you're getting your fiber from the lentils. Lentils are made up of about 25% protein. So a quarter of each lentil is straight protein. So that's pretty amazing. And we know that proteins are building blocks for muscles and skin. And protein is also good at curbing our appetite, keeping us full longer as compared to protein or to carbohydrates, because protein takes longer to break down in our stomach, so then it stays in our digestive system longer. And then because of the combination of higher fiber, then this keeps us full longer, and we're not looking for another food item because our stomach is hungry just because we've only had carbs. So a single serving of lentils, which is you're about 3/4 of a cup, has about 30, like we talked about, all that fiber in the day. And what does fiber do, of course? lowers cholesterol, protects against diabetes as well as colon cancer, and it helps to keep us regular by pushing through all of our waste through our digestive system, cleaning out our digestive system as it goes so that we don't get diverticular disease or diverticulitis. And of course, number one, it prevents constipation. So something I just want to talk about briefly is rinsing lentils. Some packages are going to say you have to rinse them and look through them, and other packages don't say anything, and then sometimes you don't even remember what was on the package. So the benefit of rinsing lentils is that you're looking at them. So lentils grow in a stalk in a field where there's other things in the field. So I have found little tiny stones or rocks in my lentils as I'm, putting them in a pot. So it is a good idea, you don't have to pick them out one by one and put them in, but just as you're pouring them in, you can be looking through them. When I'm doing bigger beans that are like really cracked or turned a little bit of a different color, I toss them because you don't want to wreck your whole pot of beans because there's a couple of beans that have gone bad. So important to go through them. So as you're doing that, you could be throwing them into a colander to rinse them. That's okay. I don't think it is important, like quinoa, to rinse these. There's no outer coating on them or anything like that. That would hurt your gut. So no problems. But you do need to rinse canned lentils after you open them, just like any other canned bean. They were cooked in the can in water, and then when you rinse them, it's a very thick syrupy kind of liquid, and so there's going to be a lot of bubbles as well. So the water has just absorbed a lot of the carbohydrate, so you'll want to rinse those bubbles off because the bubbles is what causes the gas and bloating in our gut. So the more you rinse off, the less you'll get. So not important to fully rinse them, but definitely pick through them, but rinse your canned lentils for sure. So if we're low in iron, we are going to feel fatigued. So if that's part of your complaints these days of just not feeling the drive or the energy to do anything, you might want to get your lentils and get your iron up. So lentils also contain a good amount of what we call antioxidants and polyphenols. And we've talked about this before in different Everything You Need to Knows. And these are parts of food that don't give us calories, don't give us vitamins, but they give us other things. And these are cancer fighting and disease fighting properties. So lentils are rich in polyphenols. And this is a type of phytochemical, a type of cancer-fighting agent in the food. Two examples of these polyphenols, because they're all named. So two names are procyanidin and then flavonols. So these are known to be, as polyphenols, good antioxidants, which mean they're going around the body and picking up free radicals. And free radicals are things that start cancer cells in that direction. They're also anti-inflammatory, and decreasing inflammation in our body is so important so that our body is able to rest, digest, absorb, and make all of the nutrition that it needs to do. And then, of course, these two different types of polyphenols have neuroprotective effects, and neuroprotective means that's brain protective. So other things that they've done in studies, they've shown that polyphenols have a really important part in normalizing our blood sugar levels, which is super important for diabetics. We're always trying to make sure that we're eating things that keep our blood sugar stable. And it's also worth noting that polyphenols and lentils don't appear to lose their health-promoting properties after cooking. That is really good to know. So lots of studies don't try to go and prove that, but now we know that the benefits of these raw are just as good cooking, so that's great. So is there any risks to eating lentils? It's kind of a funny question. But the one risk I would say is that because they contain about a third of the amount of fiber we need in a day in 3/4 of a cup cooked, that's a lot of fiber. So to eat that all at once, if you were previously low in fiber, that fiber is going to get to the gut, and if you don't have the right bacteria in there, you might feel bloated and gassing and crampy and all of that stuff. So you're supposed to increase your fiber slowly for that reason. And the reason is because we want to keep our gut healthy. Healthy bugs in our gut eat fiber. So when we're eating fiber, we're growing and multiplying those healthy bugs in our gut. But if we don't eat a lot of fiber, they don't have a lot of food, they start to die off, and then other ones come in. And those other ones, they eat sugar. So then when you feed your body fiber, when it's normally used to sugar, it's going to be angry. And you don't want to make your gut bugs angry. So you have to keep eating all of the foods that promote that gut bug collection of healthy gut bugs, so that they will eat their fiber and be healthy for you. So here's some common different types of lentils. So we have brown lentils, we have green lentils, we have orange or reddy kind of lentils that actually just turn brown after they're cooked, but they just look pretty, don't they? And then we have lighter green lentils. They are all nutritionally equal. That's the benefit. So the difference in all of these is just what you're using them for. So these orange ones, they take less time to cook and they go soggy really quickly, which is really good if you're needing a thickener in your soups or your stews. Just add a little bit of lentils in there and then they'll cook up. You can add them just dry, just raw, and then they're going to thicken it as they cook. These green ones or the brown ones, they hold their flavor. I think these are called brown. Oh yeah, these are brown. There's also a black one that's kind of more circular, but the brown and the green ones, they hold their size and their shape and their texture really well. So if you're wanting to make a cold or a hot salad, that is the kind to get. And then these golden ones are kind of somewhere in the middle. They're not quite as crunchy after they're cooked, so they hide really good in things like ground meats. If you're going to add some of those to spaghetti or lasagna, then you'll want to use a soft, like a lighter color. So nutritionally equal, but different things, different recipes, you want to choose the appropriate lentil. So how do you cook lentils? So if you compare lentils to another kind of bean, like the chickpea, this is cooking in a breeze, because chickpeas, if you get them dry, you have to, the long process is you have to soak them overnight in cold water, and then you got to rinse them, and then you got to boil them for like an hour and a half, which isn't a big deal, especially if you got a crock pot going for the overnight soak. But you just have to remember to do that if you want to use them the next day. So this is super easy. You can tell the difference in size, right? These are 1/8 of the size of a chickpea or a kidney bean. They cook up just like rice. So you add double the amount of water, you boil them for 20 minutes, and you're good to go. These ones, they are even less, somewhere between 5 and 10 minutes, depending on how old they are, because how old they are increases their dryness. So they're even quicker. So that's pretty great. So all you do is you throw them in a pot of water. You don't even have to measure the amount of water you're putting in. Just double the amount of water. So if you put in a cup of lentils, put in 2 cups of water. So then you have 3 cups total in your pot. And then you'll know that because they're going to absorb all that water, they're not going to run out of water and burn your pot, because you do not want that at all. So once they're cooked, and you'll have to taste test, make sure that they're chewy and firm, these ones, but not crunchy. Once they're cooked, rinse them, or else they'll keep cooking and then they'll get kind of a little bit smushier. So just rinse them in cold water and then they'll stop cooking. So if you read the ingredient list in your bag of lentils, you'll see that they contain lentils. There's nothing else in there. And the benefit of that is that there's no preservatives, no additives, no coloring, no nothing. However, the downside of no preservatives is that they don't last forever in your fridge. So you can keep these in your fridge for about 5 days, and then they're going to start to kind of get smelly because they ferment. But also, I find if they're in a glass container, if you shake them a little bit and you move the bottom of them, they'll get a little milky. They'll leave some milky residue, and that is them going bad. And you'll definitely know when you take the lid off, they'll smell not lovely. So if you're gonna throw them out, don't throw them out right into your garbage, because they'll just keep smelling not lovely. Put them in a little plastic bag, tie it really good, and then put them in your garbage and hope that garbage day is coming soon. So what I do encourage is to freeze lentils after you cook them. So you can cook up, I like to cook up like a third of a bag, and then get them all in a great big pot, get them boiling, and then freeze them into 1 cup measures into little Ziplocs or little containers to put in your fridge. And then in 5 days, you can just whip them out from your freezer, and you'll already have cooked lentils, which is really easy. You cook it once and you eat it multiple times. So use your freezer after you're cooking them and you're good to go. So just to kind of wrap up, we know that these are super high in protein, high in fiber, 0 fat, so they're very great for keeping our digestive system flowing nicely, feeding those healthy bugs in our gut, but they also, because of the fiber and the protein in them, they keep us full longer, so we're not needing to keep eating after we have a dish with lentils. We also know that they're packed with health-promoting polyphenols, which is, it's good for our brain, the 2 that are there. It's good to decrease inflammation, and it helps to prevent different kinds of different diseases and cancers as well. And they're easy to cook. And another thing that you can do if you don't want to cook them is you can sprout them. And that's a whole nother day. You can look it up online if you want. So enjoy your lentils, try all the different kinds, see what they go well with, and report back, because we want to know how much you've enjoyed everything you need to know about lentils.